Alex Kidd in Miracle Road is well known as a Sega classic, especially in Europe and Brazil. Some people consider the character a forgotten mascot by Sega. Well, he used to be forgotten, I guess. This game started becoming more well known thanks to the billion retro collections that Sega releases every damn year, so I figure if I want to talk about Master System games, why not start with this one? At first glance, it's a very standard side-scrolling platform. It's not the jump on any standard though. You attack enemies using your fists, or whatever power-up you can use. Every power-up has to be activated from an item menu you access with the pause button. Most of them need to be bought from shops spread across all the levels in the game. To buy those items or power-ups, you need to collect as many money bags as you can. This shop and item system was pretty unique at the time this game came out. Unfortunately, only some items are worth a damn. The power bracelet is probably the most useful, allowing you to release shockwaves from your punches, not only letting you kill enemies from really far away but also crush entire lines of obstacles. This item, however, can be easily found once or twice per level. The rest of them seem too situational or underwhelming. Although I guess if you're really struggling with this game for some reason, anything helps, but this isn't a hard game to beat. It's really short too. Among the things you buy from shops, there are two vehicles. You can't talk about Alex Kidd without mentioning these, since they were a big part of the game's advertisement. The first is the Sucopaco motorcycle, easily the best vehicle in the game. You use the D-pad to control its speed, on ground or mid-air, while destroying every breakable block or enemy in your way, and jump like you normally would. The one complaint I have with this vehicle is that it's only usable for 2 levels, while the bike fits level 2 perfectly. The second level you get to use it doesn't feel designed for it. I mean, you can still use it, and if you get used to the level like I did, you make short work of the level. But still, it was such a strange design decision. The second vehicle is the Petitcopter. What's with that name? I guess we're trying to blend the French word petit and helicopter together. Anyway, the Petitcopter is sadly the most common vehicle you get to use. It's not flat out bad, but the controls are much worse than the bike, making it much easier to collide against something and breaking it. It feels so slippery that you're probably gonna find yourself taking your sweet time clearing levels with it. To make things worse, one of the best opportunities to collect a huge load of money bags requires mastering the Petitcopter. Yeah, you can fire blocks and enemies with it, still doesn't make it any less boring. I hate it. There is a third vehicle called Sweet Boat. You only get to use it once and you get it automatically at the start of a later level. It functions as a bonus level of some kind, where you collect money bags and try not to collide with anything. If you do, you fall into an underwater section and waste your chance to collect a bunch of cash. It controls exactly like the bike, but you can't kill enemies with it, which makes reaching the end of the level with it the most difficult challenge in the game. I'm not joking. Another feature that is immediately associated with this game are the rock, paper, scissors boss matches. Not every boss encounter works like this, but when they don't, they're some of the easiest and most stupid boss fights you find in any video game. Like this bull you can kill by just standing still and spamming the punch button. If you know how rock, paper, scissors works, well, there isn't much to say about this. Before the second match, you get the chance to fight an orb that allows you to see what the boss is selecting for the next move. So there's that at least. The problem is that item is easy to miss in your first playthrough. And even if you do get it, some of the bosses will trick you by changing their hand in the last second. On the bright side, every boss follows a pattern, so even if you don't have that secret item, you can just brute force by memorizing the order of their moves. Or, look it up online. But then, where's the challenge? Again, this is a really short game, no need to rush. Eventually, you get actual boss fights after winning a match. Very repetitive, simple patterns. There are a few other unique traits to Miracle World, like the different types of blocks that don't spawn any money and are there just to fill the void. In fact, if you removed every block from the levels, all you would have for the majority of them would be a lot of barren flat terrain. The breakable and unbreakable blocks scattered across the screens are really what define the level design for the most part. Make of that what you will. The exception to that rule are the castle levels. Those are the only levels in the game that don't follow a completely linear progression, consisting of labyrinths made of single screen rooms that you can actually backtrack to anytime you want. They remind me a bit of Kid Icarus dungeons, only they're nowhere near as confusing or difficult to go through. Except this room, you can go straight to hell. This non-linearity is very much appreciated. It gets further explored with the use of those situational items I mentioned earlier. These castles, more than the regular levels, really showcase how each playthrough can vary a bit from the last. Unfortunately, there are only 2 of them. Of course, this game also has a story. Unlike other platforms at the time, it makes sure to remind you of that in the game itself with quite a bit of dialogue. I won't spoil all of it, even if it's an old 8-bit 80s game and you probably couldn't care less if it's not even an RPG. I know some people complain about the dialogue even existing in the first place. Personally, I don't mind the context being given to you in this manner, and without the dialogue you probably have no idea why certain mystical items exist or why they're important. My one complaint is how slow the dialogue box animation is. They slowly spiral into shape before the text even starts being printed. And every single rock, paper, scissors match repeats the same 2 or 3 lines of dialogue every time you retry. Anyway, the gist of it is Alex was off training. When he comes back, he finds out that there's a whole mess happening in his homeland. His brother was captured, his father has gone missing, and an evil tyrant has taken over the kingdom. The game actually ends by teasing that the story isn't completely over, and indeed it does continue eventually, with Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle, which took 3 years to happen. And no, neither this game or Enchanted Castle are connected to the rest of the Alex Kidd games. Well, that's Alex Kidd The Miracle World. If you're into retro platforms in general, or if you're a Master System enthusiast, I recommend getting this game. Unless you don't like what you see, there really is no excuse. There are at least 20 different platforms to play this on. The original cart is still great, but not very accessible if you're not in Brazil or UK. It can also be played without any cart on Master System 2, but I would recommend that GIMP version of the console to my enemies, let alone my viewers. For newer versions I recommend getting on Steam, on the Ultimate Genesis Collection, or whatever it's called. Seriously, there are so many of those I get the names mixed up. For PS4 or Xbox One. Or the version which I consider to be the best one available, Sega Ages Alex Kidd The Miracle World for the Nintendo Switch. Yeah, it's $8, but the emulation here is the closest we'll get to the original, and it's wrapped in a nice package of exclusive features and options for players new and old. It's definitely the best for beginners too. I hope you enjoyed this review. Thanks for watching.